Your good intentions have been stolen, but don't worry. We are here to help you get them back. My name is Anna Vocino, and with me is the beautiful, the fantastic, the
Sweetie darling.
the whip smart, crackling good time that is Serena
My
Scott
God.
Thomas.
Hang on, I need a bucket so I can puke.
How you doing, Pumpkin? I'm doing my best,
Oh.
Vinnie, at the beginning of this. People are going to be like, what? This is a Monday show. We got two broads on a Monday show?
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah, which I'm sure will be a refreshing change from Captain Angry Underpants.
Let's just throw Vinny under the
Of course,
bus. He's not
of course,
here.
we can say whatever we want about him.
He's the one who asked for us to do this.
I know. I know. I didn't
It's on
realize
him.
when he asked me. I thought he was just asking me to kind of chat with him. And then he said, no, it's just you and Anna. I thought, well, that's going to be kind of fun, actually.
Yeah. We always have fun when we talk, and it doesn't happen often enough.
No,
And
I agree.
frankly, I don't think he understands that he could just bring a microphone and do this, but that's okay because now we get to change it up.
He used to, but I don't know.
It's too much. It's too much. So here we are on the Monday show. We're going to be talking about some fun things today. We're going to be talking about solidcore.
Yeah, baby.
Which sounds like, you know how they have like cottage core and
yes, it sounds like a decorating style.
It does. It does. Everything
Solid.
is see-through.
Like everything is really solid.
Yeah. Nothing translucent. So we're going to be talking about solid core. We're going to be talking about the middle-agedness. I turned 50 in exactly a month.
Oh, I weep for you.
Well, because you know what happens.
You won't get any sympathy from me, Dolly Mixtures.
You were at my 40th birthday party.
I was. A good time.
A mere 2 years ago.
God, it's amazing.
Crazy.
Yeah. Scary.
And then, relationships, and you've been going through it. And I would love to talk stress management and how to cope. How to cope. They say that sleep is the thing that we're supposed to be getting. And I always laugh because I'm like, yeah, of course, I would love that. Sounds great. And even when I've created the prime conditions for it, it's still my body's like, no, brain.
All I have to do is turn on Midsummer Murders.
Do you watch The Murders?
The Midsummer Murders, do you know that show?
No,
Vinnie always laughs because he says they're all the same, and it's like this tiny little sort of village in Sussex or somewhere in England, very sort of bucolic, and people get murdered every 5 minutes there. But there's something really enchanting about it, rather than like sort of Agatha Christie, the way Agatha Christie is kind of gentle.
Mm-hmm.
It seems an oxymoron, gentle murder. Well, it is an oxymoron.
Gentle,
there's something
back.
about that show. It takes place in this quaint little English village town, and is it in
the same town every time, or is it
no?
Different
Well,
towns?
I mean, it's the area, So
but the theme is rural murder.
Rural murder, yeah.
Okay.
And it's just very cute. It's very English. Anyway, it sends me to sleep in about 2 minutes.
Really?
Yes, I love it.
And you stay asleep? You don't have murder nightmares?
Yeah, pretty much, except when I need to get up to pee. Speaking of middle-aged.
Well, that made me wonder, because I got off a 13-hour flight, and you pee on the plane, but then during the night, I peed like a racehorse 3 times, like as if I had hydrated between. And then I was wondering are you retaining water on the plane and then you release?
Probably,
maybe?
I would think so. Yeah,
but
probably.
It made me, I woke up and had an ultrasound.
Just so wrong on every level.
It kind of is. I have a theory that when you're in the air, it compresses your bowels, and that's why you can't go to the bathroom correctly for like 4 days after it's something with the air, the air pressure.
I don't know why. I just don't understand people
that
do that for a living. Can you imagine?
No.
Anyway,
no.
I'm glad someone else wants to do it because I wouldn't want to.
What is solid core?
Solid core is like Pilates on crack in a nightclub.
So I need to try this because I love
It's-
Pilates. I have a reformer.
Okay, so I did Pilates in 1987 when it was all sort of wounded ballerinas
Right.
in London, and it was boring AF, and and I loved it because it taught me how to move properly, using my stomach muscles, and how to go slowly and how to breathe with the exercises and everything. It taught me good form. But I just found it, like watching paint dry. I like a bit of camaraderie. I like loud music. I like to sweat. I like being with a group of people and trying really hard together. I really love that feeling. And what happened was I was running a lot and I had this pain in what felt like my hip. And I was terrified because in my family, everybody's had hip replacements, some of them on both sides. So I was putting off and putting off and putting off getting an x-ray. And eventually it was keeping me awake at night. And I was stretching and doing everything. And I was running a lot at the time. I was training for a 100K. And
that's a lot of Ks.
It's a lot of Ks, yeah. But so what happened was I finally went to my doctor, who's one of my running partners. And I thought, I got to do something about this. It's keeping me awake at night. I couldn't get comfortable. It was miserable. And, when you don't sleep, like you said, I get really cranky. I want to eat crap. It just affects across the board my well-being. So I finally went and I had an x-ray and there was nothing wrong in the x-ray, which was a major relief. So then I had an MRI and they found this little tear in my gluteus medius. And so I had to stop running and go to physical therapy. Now, I've been to a lot of physical therapies in my life, and most of them, they just kind of go, move your arm like this, now go home.
Right.
Absolutely useless. I happen to luckily have landed with this physical therapist who is a runner. And she made me do these exercises, and I realized how incredibly weak I was in anything to do with balance, stabilization muscles. Because when you're running, if you think about it, you're just going like this, in one direction pretty much. And the old lady
just did, if you're listening, she was just doing the forward motion with the creepy
if
crawly
you're doing
fingers.
the old lady ultra shuffle, which is how I run these days, your feet are barely coming off the ground. You're just like shuffling along, and I can go on like that for miles and miles. Obviously,
a lot of Ks. Yeah,
I haven't been doing it, but but actually, it's really bad for you. Because you never, and the thing is with ultra running is that you never have time to do anything else. You go out, you run 26 miles on a Saturday, or 30 miles on a Saturday, or 18 miles, you come back and you have all these plans of all these things you're going to do for the rest of the day. I'm going to clean out the pantry, I'm going to do my ironing, I'm going to go shopping, I'm going to do this, that, and the other. And you end up lying on the sofa,
of course,
in a coma.
Of course, you just ran really
and
far.
I think you also live in a state of permanent dehydration. I really do believe that. You live in a state of too much stress and permanent dehydration. So anyway, so the doctor said to me, you can't run for a bit, just go to physical therapy. At the same time, my daughter Tallulah had discovered this thing called solidcore, which is literally 3 minutes from my house, which is
that's great.
And she took me, and at first it was like, I'm in this really dark space. The teachers all talk really fast. They're going to go like this. They're young and they all talk really fast. And the music was really, really loud. And the movement wasn't in time to the music, which always throws me for a loop. But I could do it. Not very well, but I could do it, except for when it came to anything that involved stabilizer muscles. So any lunges, what is this? A massive reformer, but it's padded, not like a Pilates reformer, which is sort of strings and bits of wood. They call her Svetlana, and as in Swetlana. No, they call her Swetlana, as in Svetlana.
Got it.
And basically, it's a lot of resistance training, balance. You do these lunges where you have your foot on the moving part and one foot on the stable part, and you have to kind of lunge forward. And I always need the stability pole. because my muscles are so weak. And what was really funny is that my friend Debbie, who I run with, has the same weaknesses as me. So, and Vinny's been telling me for years, he's been telling me, you've got to do lunges, you've got to do squats, you've got to go and lift weights, you've got to. And I was like, I just want to run. It can't possibly be bad for me. And, what I found is that I became very addicted to solidcore. And now I go like 4 or 5 times a week. And there's a teacher at the place I go to. Her name is Caitlin. Yay, Caitlin. She is so awesome. She comes in the morning. She goes, okay, you Monday morning motherfuckers.
Ready to whip you into shape.
She is so funny. She makes it really, really, really fun. And what happens is as you get stronger, you increase the springs or you let go of the stability poles. The movement is very, very slow. I tend to use lighter springs and go more slowly because I would rather do it correctly.
Yes.
Immediately, I noticed a change in my body for the better. My waist immediately got like an inch smaller, if not
Love
more.
it.
It was amazing.
Love it.
I was getting that. Vinny said I had frog butt. And I said, what's that? And he goes, when you stand a frog up and its butt disappears.
I had to ask him what that was too. I was like, what is that?
I never, frog butt.
Or just
Thank
drops.
you,
It's just.
Yeah, it's just straight, slammed up against the wall. So he told me that, once I started going to solidcore and I was getting a little bit more bum. So some things I found I was pretty good at, like the inner thighs, but that's from riding horses. And some of the core stuff I could do, but anything that involved my glutes, my hamstrings, my quads, disaster. My obliques, disaster. I mean, humiliating. I'm like this little old lady. I'm wobbling, But I have to say that I've been doing it now. I just completed over 100 classes. I've been doing it since July.
That's incredible.
I'm addicted. I just love it. It's the best exercise I have ever done. It's the best exercise.
I have a few questions for you when you were talking that you made me think of. So it's interesting that you talk about the stomach muscles because you did Pilates back in the 80s and 90s and it got you in touch with your stomach muscles because it's interesting because I did a session with you about chi running years ago. And it's interesting you talked about the stomach and how it's I'm imagining that made the chi running easier because you were aware of your dantian and like where you're placing stuff, which is
definitely
cool.
It helps. But when you run miles and miles and miles and miles and you're just churning out the miles, your form goes to hell in a handbasket.
Yeah.
So you stop doing all that and you create bad habits. And then actually the tear in my gluteus medius, I don't think was from running. It was from riding a bicycle that was made for someone who's like 4'8".
Oh no. Well, that brings me to my next question, which is you kind of got into it with the stabilizer muscles, but weak how? Are you saying that like if you stood on one foot, you might wobble, or are you weak like if you were walking on how you walk on the curb and you're trying to keep your balance? Like talk to me about that and the stabilizer muscles and what that means. Because we always talk about lifting weights. Vinny doesn't talk about stabilizer muscles. So what does that mean?
Well, I think he does. I think he just calls them something else.
Oh, he probably does. And
compound I just don't movements. It uses all of the muscles. I don't know. I could be wrong.
But he doesn't get into the nitty gritty of.
By the way, I don't listen to him. You have to understand.
Hence our conversation. We're shedding light on something else.
Exactly. Oopsie. And you know what? I think Vinny has such incredible depth of knowledge about anatomy and how the body.
Oh yeah, he really does.
So I do listen, but I pretend not to because I'm married to him, and that's what you do, right?
Right.
La, la, la. So anyway,
until you really need something, and then you're like, "Hey, what was that thing that you said about that thing?"
Exactly. Right. So I made him come with me to a class.
He told
because I wanted him to okay it, because I was afraid it might be a gimmicky thing. And afterwards, I was all proud of myself because I'd done solidcore with him, and of course it was easy for him. And I said, "So how did you like it?" And he goes, "Oh, it was great. It was like a massage." And I said, way to make me feel really good about the extremely hard workout I just did.
Hey.
I was dying. And you were feeling like you were getting a massage. And he said, no, I don't mean that. What I mean is if my back was tweaking me, if I was having trouble with my back, I needed to do legs, I would go and do that. Because you're on a machine, you're very aligned. It's very difficult to get injured, except when you fall into the pit, like I did yesterday. I fell on my butt in the bottom of the thing. It was like a sort of beetle. Anyway, so he approved, because it's very slow and it's very methodical, and it's quite hard to get injured, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've never felt stronger in my life. I love what it's doing for me, on the inside of my body and on the outside, if you know what I mean. And it's 50 minutes. I wish it was a bit longer sometimes, because I'm an addict. What can I tell you? Right. But it's great fun, and it's very, they really kind of make you feel like part of a team when you're doing it, which is I really enjoy that. So enjoy it.
100 classes. That's incredible. Since July.
I know. Well, I love it. Well, I couldn't run, you see. So now I've started running a little bit, but not much, because I kind of prefer solid core. And the other thing is, it doesn't take up as much time. So I go to an 8:10 class. I'm back by 9:20.
It's great. Yeah.
Or 7:10 class. I'm back by 8:30. It's amazing, and I'm done.
How is the tear? Does it feel better? It's gone.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah,
that's great.
But in the beginning, I mean, my God, it was hard to do these exercises. And I was glad I'd been going to physical therapy, because the girl had showed me, how to do these exercises properly. And it was actually just a sort of continuation of what I was doing in the physical therapy.
Well, what I find so fascinating about it too, because I love Pilates, I still love it, but I also, I feel like you do have to spice it up, and there are all sorts of ways to spice it up. But I think now that there's all these Pilates studios that are like doing the banging classes, it sounds very similar to what Solid Core is doing.
Well, you should look it up.
But I want to go to a Solid Core class, because that sounds super fun.
You would love it, because
I would love it.
We laugh our asses off, because some of it's so hard.
Well, and that's good too with the camaraderie, because I will say Pilates can be a really solo thing. Like, you don't really connect with the other people. You're doing your own thing, So it's
I don't really like that. I like to work as a team. I like to, look at someone who's doing the amplification, who's further down the road than me, who's stronger than me, and then I try it myself, and then and you can take breaks, and it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. I was an aerobics addict in the 80s. I did Pilates, I did aerobics, I've been a runner, I've been in the gym, I've done a lot of different kinds of exercise. This is the best one yoga. I love yoga, but yoga's you have to find the right class. You
do. And the right type of yoga for you.
Yeah, that's true too.
It's a very individual thing.
I've got injured doing yoga,
before, of course,
in a class where teachers weren't careful enough.
I was just going to say too, I really like the way that you were able to find some way to heal your body, and you're not just like, well, I just have this tear, it's just this pain I'm going to have for the rest of my life.
Oh no,
I love that you search for answers. But that all of these little ancillary muscles, the stability muscles, stabilizing muscles, are very important to strengthen. I think
as we get older, especially, because I was talking to my GP, my runner friend who goes to Solid Core with me now. She said the problem is shush. As we get older,
special appearance.
Sorry, there are dogs in the cul-de-sac.
It's very exciting.
Sorry. As we get older, when older people trip and fall, they break their hip, or they become ill and they're in hospital. The muscle loss is massive.
Oh, it's terrible. The bone loss and the muscle loss.
And the muscle loss, it's something ridiculous. Like, you lose a pound of muscle every year after 30 something. I mean, that's quite scary. And when you think that if we're losing muscle, but we're still gaining weight because we got the middle age spread, then we're just gaining fat, and it's quite disturbing. But, Debbie explained it to me because my friend had COVID. She was in hospital and she's much older. She's 84, fit as a fiddle, actually. But she came out and immediately started doing her physical therapy. And Deb said, that's really, really good, because what happens is they lose, when you're older, we lose so much muscle when we're in the hospital or, recovering from flu or whatever it is, that if we don't immediately get back to deep physical therapy, building up those muscles again, it's the beginning of the end.
Well, it's the whole concept of hormetic stress, that you have to actually stress your body in order to grow. And it's almost like how you have to go through stressful experiences in life in order to grow. You have to, unfortunately, you have to, like the vines here. I live in wine country now. They have to cut back the vines. They look dead. Every year in the winter, they look dead, but they have to, that's how they stress the vine in order for things to grow.
Well,
and
it's like a butterfly struggling to come out of its, what is that thing?
Exactly. The chrysalis cocoon, whatever the word is.
Exactly. They have to work really hard, and it makes them stronger.
I think
life is like that.
Dr. Mindy Pelz, I was reading one of her books, and she was talking about how you can lose so much muscle mass and bone density that some women will bend over to tie their shoe
and snap,
break a hip. And that, to me, like, shocking. That's just not, that's not okay.
It's quite frightening. And, sometimes, the question is, did the person fall over and then break their hip because they fell over, or did their hip break and they fell over?
Right.
So we don't know. The point is I'm of an age now where I have to be mindful of exercise as physical therapy.
That's right.
Not just for fun.
It's medicinal at this point.
But it is medicinal.
Take your medicine, honey.
I mean, I've always used it medicinally, mentally and emotionally and spiritually. But now it matters more than ever. And I feel like because I am doing this particular form of exercise, I'm infinitely stronger. My balance is infinitely better. As I move around life, I'm picking up, huge bags of fertilizer for the garden, or, a piece of furniture or something like that.
And not injuring yourself. And
not injuring myself, and just feeling flexible and strong at the same time. And having more time to do things like, take care of the garden and cook dinner for Vinnie and keep on top of things here. That makes me very happy. So I'm loving it. I don't know if I'll ever go back to running really long distances.
Interesting. That's really and that's a huge statement coming from you.
I know. I still haven't run 100 miles, which kind of irks me. I feel like, yes, it does. It annoys me.
But cumulatively, you've run 1,000,000 miles. So I think you get a pass.
That's kind of not the point.
But to me, you've done real good.
So what are you doing for exercise now?
I wanted to say too, and I'll tell you in a second, Peter Attia just came out with a new book called Longevity. I think it came out like a week ago, and I read half of it on the plane yesterday. And it's, if you can he's a great writer, or I don't even know if he writes his book or is a ghost, whoever writes his books, if it's him or a ghostwriter, fabulous prose. It's really easy to go through. And I highly recommend it because it's very palatable, and he doesn't go into doctor speak.
Oh, good. So it's easy.
Yeah, it's easy to digest. Yes. Yeah. And so, just the sheer amount of, and I think for me, this is staring down the barrel of turning 50, which is the beginning of old age and the end of your, the official 40s, the end of your youth, and 50s, the beginning of old. So I want to like go in strong, and I want to go in capable, and I want to go in feeling like things haven't gotten away from me, because I think that's what happens, is that we age and things kind of get away from you, and you don't realize that you've been sitting slumping at the chair on the computer for so many hours. I mean,
there are some things that we can do nothing about.
For sure.
Cancers and genetic things that are genetic, and, but what we can do is give our bodies the best shot that they can have.
So being able to answer the question, are you doing the things within your power that you can do, or have you been blowing them off?
Yeah. Yeah.
And part of that's sticking with
You
NSNG,
know,
and part of that's
and
doing the exercise, and part of that's minding your sleep, and part of that's
Vinny and I are
making sure your
getting to the
stress
age
is
where our
managed.
friends are getting sick,
Yeah.
and it's horrible.
So 10 years ago, when we started, or 11 years ago, when we started this podcast, so I was 38 and he was 49, right? And now I'm
Probably.
almost 50 and he's 60, going to be 61, right?
Yep.
So he said he went back to Louisiana and all of his friends had started to be on a ton of medications. And I remember thinking in my late 30s, that's crazy. What are you talking about? And now I'm at that
How
phase.
your friends are doing that.
Right. And you're, you know what I mean? And so I'm like, oh, this is what the progression is going to be if you're not on your shit.
Well, I think even if
And it
you
might
are
be
on
that
your
anyway,
shit,
but at least
even if you are on your shit, the progression is downhill.
Exactly. And I guess with reading Peter Tia's book, I had to resist the urge to be scared and just go, this is going to happen no matter what, because he talks a lot about, the final decade has gotten so bad for most people in the Western world because the decline of your health and your vibrancy is so bad. But they are showing that, like, the people who are lifting weights, the people who are, who have VO2 capacity, who keep their lungs going, keep are facing that final decade and actually having a much steeper decline. I mean, sorry, like a steep, you know what I mean? It's like a faster drop off. Like,
no, without a doubt. And then you get run over by a bus.
Great. Great.
Yeah, I mean, it's, all around me at my age, and, my mom just died. So that makes you very conscious well, your mom died when you were much younger, I think, right? But
she did. And I think it made me have a very morbid view of things, not in necessarily a bad way, but in a everything has since the untethering. And now you lost your father at a young age. So I'm sure you felt this at an even younger age, the untethering feeling that happens when you lose a parent. You feel, I felt like almost like somebody released the balloon string and now I'm just kind of floating. And so, and not necessarily in a bad way, but in a way that made me kind of re-examine. Sometimes I feel frightened and other times I feel free. And then I felt a lot of, I don't like things and stuff. And that exercise of having to go through a human's life's worth of stuff.
Oh God.
It's a lot. Let's put it that way.
It's funny,
and I'm sure you guys are not
having to do
siblings.
that because I'm not in England, so I'm not really having to do that. My brothers and sisters, poor things, are doing all of that.
So I'm sorry about your mom.
Excruciating, painful. Thank you.
I know it's a horrible thing to go through.
Yeah, she was quite a woman. That's for sure. And grief is such a strange thing. You think you're all right. Actually, I was there a lot during, the last month.
Mm-hmm. You were boots on the ground.
Right, because I went there for that. The others had homes and jobs and families and things there, so they had to attend to those things. But I was just there, and the whole thing was incredibly traumatic, I have to say.
Yep.
The national health, which I have always been a huge supporter and proponent of, is terrifying. The hospital was like bedlam. There were people running around with excrement all over them. There were old ladies in beds going, help, help, like this.
God,
there were people in beds in the corridors. The nurses who are divine, are just completely overwhelmed, underpaid. I mean, the whole thing is a nightmare. We got a different diagnosis for my mother's problem every day. It was absolutely awful. Until finally we managed to get the truth out of somebody.
Right.
Differing opinions. Well, she's got this, she's got that, she's got this. And it was absolutely awful. But, for me, the grief was weird because while I was there, I didn't cry. After she died, I did. But, I just didn't because I was so in kind of coping mode, I suppose.
Yeah. You were in work mode.
Ultra runner thing, you just keep on going. You keep on left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot, But now that I'm back home, it's really hard.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's hard, and I have to sleep a lot, and I have to make sure I eat well, because how I cope with the grief, if I don't eat well, if I fall off the wagon, which, to be honest, I really want to do a lot. You know, it's a constant fight with myself at the moment. But you know, on
What
the
do you
days
mean,
when
like
I do,
rewarding yourself?
yeah,
Like
very much
I
so.
just want to treat. My mom died. I want to treat.
Well, a lot of it is that
Yeah.
it's that comfort, it's that craving
Mm.
comfort thing. I did realize I had a big aha moment where I realized that the reason why I crave sugar is because I want my mummy. And that's
Oh,
always been the way, like
that
even
makes
when I
me
was a
want to
little girl.
cry. That's,
But you know, the beauty of that is that now that I've realized that sugar for me was my mum, because my mum, she was struggling when we were children. You know,
mm,
she'd lost two husbands, she had very little money, she had five kids.
mm-hmm.
Personally, I would have drowned us in the bathtub and shot myself, you know. And I used to say that to mum, and she used to say, "Don't be ridiculous," of course, you know. But you know, I don't know how she did it. No
Yeah.
Prozac, you know. But of course, you know, she could not give us the attention and, you know, the nurturing that we all desperately needed.
Mm-hmm.
um she just couldn't. I mean, she didn't have the tools, she didn't have the help, she didn't have the knowledge, she didn't, you know, she did an amazing job. She's an amazing human, she was an amazing human being. But so I used to eat a lot of candy when I was a little girl. And I had this very vivid memory of going down to the little village shop. I had my pocket money and buying all these sweets. And on the way home on my bicycle, I'm eating this candy,
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
and
Did the same thing.
yeah,
That's
right.
what we
And it was just
did.
like, "Gang, gang, 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 gang." And I realized that I don't know why, just after, you know, I came back here and it's like, I want cookies with my tea in the afternoon, you know,
Mm.
and I just suddenly said, "Oh my God, I just want my mummy." Um, and from that moment, there was the gift, because I could actually say, okay, what you're missing is that limbic attunement with your mother. What you're missing is that connection, that nurturing.
Right.
To get that, Serena, you don't have to eat bad stuff. You can do something else that you find nurturing. Call a friend, watch something cozy on television, have a cup of tea, have some almonds instead. You know, they're
Right.
crunchy.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You know, once that penny dropped, it was much easier for me to stay away from the sugar. Once I got exactly what I was seeking by eating sugar.
That's
Having said that, I
fascinating.
just ate my way through New York. I went to visit Tallulah, and it was barely 5 minutes past without eating something. God, it was so good.
I'm sure.
So good.
Well, I thank you for being vulnerable about that and for because I guarantee you somebody out there is listening going, holy shit, I do that too. Or, you know,
Yeah.
and that's it's an interesting process grieving because you find there's so many to me, I've unearthed so many subconscious behavior patterns, beliefs that occurred and had to realize, wait, my mom's not even in the physical anymore. I don't need to associate these things. I can, and I love what you said about like I can have these memories and connection and whatever whatever anybody out does out there to grieve their dead. Beautiful. I love it. I support you. But you know, if you meditate, if you pray, if you whatever it is that you connect, it doesn't actually have to involve, you know, scarfing a box of cookies or a whole pizza. But and it also too, it's okay if that happens for a little while. Like that's the other thing. Is like I'm not saying be easy on yourself, like to be like, screw it, let's go on a bender. But I'm also saying like if that's happened, stop beating yourself up and just let's
Totally.
let's just like
Totally.
stop. It,
Totally.
I remember thinking some making a choice of something. I don't know, some sort of choice. Like, should I do this thing or make this post or make this joke or whatever? Something creative. And then I remember thinking, oh, my mom would hate that. And then I was like, wait a minute.
She's dead.
She's
Yeah.
dead. It's okay. And then it's like one of those weird things.
So
And you're
did
like,
you
am I
find you
bad for
could,
thinking that? And
did you find you sort of felt you could be more yourself? It was
yes,
like the voices of mummy in my
yeah.
head are not there as strongly. Yes, some things are habitual and we keep on doing the same things, but there's a lot of it that kind of goes away.
One time, Lauren and I were on a walk recently, and I wish I could remember the exact phrase he said, but he said something that sounded like he was talking about the potato famine. Like he was like, well, like he said something basically like, well, the potatoes, we might all just starve. Like it was a weird thing. And I was like, that sounds like your great grandparent just said some worry. Like I guarantee you, we carry some shit genetically with us because
Oh,
when he said that, I was like, that's not
transgenerational
you at all. That's
trauma
your
is a real,
ancestry.
but transgenerational trauma is a real thing.
It is.
It's in your DNA,
It
and
is.
it's very hard to convince yourself otherwise. But it can be done. It can be done. There's
It
a
is
wonderful
interesting.
book by Thich Nhat Hanh. Do you know who I mean by that?
Yes.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm trying to think of the name of it now. It's a book about one's ancestors and how one deals with the regrets afterwards. I mean, like I'm constantly thinking, oh my God, remember that time in the summer when I snapped at her because she was annoying me.
Yeah.
And now I feel really guilty. And the book talks about all of that, and it talks about how we have our ancestors, or our parents inside of us. We carry them
Mm-hmm.
inside of
We
us
sure do.
anyway, even when they're not on this planet anymore.
That's right.
And so we can make friends with that and not feel guilty and bereft,
Mm-hmm.
or as much as we
That's
actually.
and that's going to be part
That's
of the
nice.
healing journey too, is for those moments are going to come up and then you have to learn how to forgive yourself. It's a huge exercise in self-forgiveness as well. I mean, even if you had the most perfect idyllic relationship with your parent, you still are going to go through
Of
that
course.
that exercise of like, oh fuck, I did that, or I was a dick then, and I
Everybody does, I think.
and it's an
Everybody does.
interesting thing to go, because we might not practice self-forgiveness as like a regular thing. A lot of us go, oh God, I did that thing. I'm ashamed of that. And then we figure out a way to mask it or fill the void or do something else. And it's almost like
Yep.
when a parent dies, you have to face it. You have to face your own bad behavior, I guess.
I think for me, it's very important to remember that just because it hurts, it doesn't mean I'm doing it wrong.
Oh, I think that you're doing it right because
Well,
it hurts.
depends, but
It's kind
yeah.
of like when your kid goes off to school and you're like done. Like I always say, like the more that it hurts, the better job you did, because that means your kid's independent and can go out and be in the world. And that
Yeah.
hurt. You're like, oh, they don't need me. Okay, that's fine. I'm
Yeah.
fine. It's a
Yeah.
good thing. It's actually a good thing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it is a complicated
And
process.
and then it all happens at middle age, guys. This is when it all. Everybody who's parents of young children right now, they
Which
don't they
gives me
don't
the
know.
perfect segue to menopause.
First, let's talk about Villa Capelli olive oil, shall we?
Oh,
I don't know if you
yes.
guys know about Villa Capelli olive oil, but you should. Serena, what do you think about Villa Capelli olive oil? You're
I
a
think it's
fan.
delicious.
It really is.
Delicious.
Um, yeah,
Obviously it's delicious in salads and on tomato mozzarella salad and all those things, but when I cook with it,
it brings it
everything
to
tastes
life.
differently.
Like it pops.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's so good. In
When I
fact, I'm
first
gonna go
got
and have
it,
some.
I was being real chintzy with it and only used it for salad dressings. And then I finally, threw caution to the wind
Yeah,
and sauteed some vegetables and some chicken in it. And I was like, oh my God, this is so good. Villa
it's
Capelli
incredible.
is actual real olive oil. Here's the deal. They harvest the olives early in the season, usually September. And when that happens, it brings out more of whatever it is that gives it the Puglia pinch. It's something akin to oh gosh, what's that
Oh,
stuff? An
peppery, isn't it?
analgesic. Yeah, it has like a little peppery finish. And
Yeah,
it is so delicious and flavorful. And if you've only had like big brand grocery store olive oils leading up to this point, you'll be shocked at the amount of
yeah,
flavor that real olive oil is supposed to have.
it's
So
delicious.
if you
It,
guys want to
it,
get
it
your hands on some, oh, go ahead.
no, it's got this body to it, you know.
It really does. It's so good. And I just came back from 10 days in Italy. And let me tell you what, I put Villa Capelli up against anyone's. I want to have Puglia and Tuscany. I want them to duke it out. Y'all can have a big fight. I love it.
So how do people get this Villa Capelli oil you speak
It's
of?
so easy, Serena. Thank you so much for asking. You go to villacapelli.com and you enter the discount code Vinnie, Vinnie, and you'll get 10% off your order each and every time. It's not just a one-time discount, it's an every time discount. I suggest you use it. We always give the tip of order a little more, so that you, when you qualify, you after the discount, you still qualify for the $125 or more orders. So you get the free shipping because it's expensive to ship olive oil. So let's make Steven pay for it.
It makes fabulous gifts.
Absolutely wonderful.
You're going to stay with someone, or someone's putting on a
Mother's Day is coming up,
or you're going to their house. Bring a bottle, a small bottle, and what a lovely present.
I love it. I think it's
revolutionize people's lives, or ruin,
or ruin it, because now they'll have champagne olive oil tastes on a Bertolli budget.
Yeah, that's all right.
Get Villa Capelli, you guys. Trust me, it's really great. I'm realizing I'm having a lot of mouth noise because I forgot my water. Middle-aged, menopause.
Don't know what you're talking about.
By the way, men, if you're gonna tune out right now, I throw down the gauntlet. I put my little glove down like D'Artagnan and say, don't tune out. Here's why: because I bet you have a woman in your life, a mother, a sister, a spouse.
If you're lucky enough.
If you're lucky enough, and if you don't, get better relationships. Because here's the
Vinnie, he'll teach you how.
Yeah, that's right. You get these women in your life, and they're going through it. And the thing that's really getting to me, Serena, is that nobody's talking about this. And I'm going to bring this up to you because here are the conversations that have been going in my life lately. I say to friend A, hey, so have you noticed this thing happening? Because I talk about the things that happen. And they're like, oh, I haven't had a cycle for like a year. And I'm like, you're literally one of my best friends for 30 years. Don't you think you should tell me that you haven't had a cycle for a year? And they're like, well, I'm like, why is nobody? And that conversation, or a version of that conversation, has now happened with 3 or 4 friends. And I'm just shocked that we're not talking about it, because everything is crazy right now for perimenopause and almost, I guess you can't say menopause until it's done.
Are you in the middle of it then?
Yeah. Yeah. And if it weren't for NSNG, because I sit here and I go, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, it really
I'm having a coughing fit.
No, it makes a huge difference to me when I eat really well. The hot flashes.
The stabilization of hormones that happens with NSNG.
I mean, even when I drink a cup of coffee, I have a hot flash.
Yeah.
That's just a cup of coffee. It doesn't stop me from doing it, you must understand. But I do. And if I eat sugar, oh my God, horrible.
I had a phase of hot flashes back in August that were so insane. And I was so freaked out that this is going to happen for a long time. And it was always, the hot flash was always preceded by a feeling of absolute abject terror / anxiety. And not terror of the hot flash. I would just be like, and then
panic.
Yes. And now they've since gone away, but other things are happening. But no, I've heard they come back for years, and I understand that. I know it's going to be a thing, but I just find it fascinating that there's still so much shame surrounding this topic that all of us are going to go through if we live long enough. So why are we not speaking of this? Did you talk about it with your girlfriends?
Yes, I did. I did, and it was quite helpful. I think that, well, first of all, I had a terrible time. Terrible time. I thought I was losing my mind because the brain fog was, I would find myself sitting at my desk. I was selling real estate at the time, and I would find myself just sitting at my desk like this.
Just zoning out.
And like 10 minutes would go by, and I go, oh my God, what was I doing? You know, it was like a blackout almost. It was so bizarre. And I would forget appointments, and, you know, it's kind of scary when you're dealing with somebody's nest egg, you know.
Well, and also when you're somebody who is, you're a responsible on your game kind of lady. It's not like you're some flight case.
I'm not flaky at all. No.
It's like, so when that happens, it feels like you're losing part of your identity.
It was absolutely petrifying. And I got very depressed and very anxious, and had to go and you get different medications, you know, psych meds, because the regular, you know, Chevy wasn't working. You know, I had to go for the Ferrari.
Right.
And your skin, fatigue, uncomfortable in your clothes, the sort of spreading waistline. God, it sounds so sexy. And the shame.
And the spreading waistline is real. Like, I don't want people to think, because I think when you're in your, and by the way, perimenopause begins at age 35. Do people know that?
I didn't have a baby till I was 36.
Well, you know what? That's why they call it I don't think they're allowed to call it a geriatric pregnancy anymore, but that they used to up until like 3 years ago. My best friend had her baby at 43, and they were like, girl.
That's a geriatric. Girl.
Yeah, they call it a geriatric pregnancy because at age 35, your epithelial lining just starts to knot. It just starts to be like, everything's going to just start to diminish from 35 to 50. It's a very slow burn. So again, it's one of those things where, like, if it's and I had to narrate a thing for 17 hours. It was 17-hour long thing explaining perimenopause and menopause. And I did it in my 30s, and I was like, this is crazy. But then there's a part of me that's like, it's never going to happen. Yeah, I'm never gonna happen to me. I'm impervious to this. And then now it's like, knowing what I know after having narrated that thing, I'm like, oh shit.
There's no doubt that it puts a strain on, you know, relationships.
Yes.
In the home, and probably at work too. There's no doubt. It's, you know, it's nature's cruelest joke, I think. You know, just when you think that your children are going off to college and you're going to have your life with your husband back, and you can travel and you're comfortable and all the rest of it, suddenly you get hit with this, you know, and it's the hardest, most miserable, depressing thing. Now, some women just kind of go straight through it and don't feel a thing. And
God bless them.
God bless them.
I mean, I don't wish ill on anybody ever.
That's just not fair.
But it's just not fair. And I'm like, well, can you at least tell me you had a hard pregnancy or something? Like, can I just hear like
or a difficult
something
time
happened? Yeah, something.
No, it's for those of us that have adverse effects. And the thing that drove me the most crazy was all the gimmicky cures. So
my Instagram feed is filled with them. Ridiculous.
Yeah. Doctors
with, have this gummy, it'll get rid of belly
too many
fat.
Teeth, you know, shiny white chiclet teeth. And, you know, their assistants who look like sort of, you know, Farrah Fawcett Major. And, you know, they say, you know, we can cure your menopausal symptoms with just one whatever. And there was a doctor in the Valley in Los Angeles who used to be an ER doctor who set himself up with some kind of, you know, menopause clinic. And I think he would charge $25,000 just as a retainer, you know. But women are so desperate for help that they just, oh my God, I'll try anything. And it's terribly wrong.
Well,
and
I would say definitely cut out sugars and grains. That's a good start.
Really helps. But when you think about how much money is spent helping men and how cheap the medication is, and how there is nothing for women that actually is safe or works.
Yeah. And
the few things that might help it a little bit are so expensive.
Well, that's the thing, like the hormone replacement therapy, which they now are finally saying, oh, we were wrong about the data in 2002. It actually is helpful, and it doesn't make any statistical difference as opposed for breast cancer.
My sister's just been put back on it because
I'm going to go talk to a doctor. I said when I got home from Italy, I would make the appointment. And
It's night and day. It's night and day.
Great.
Maybe I will too then.
They say you can stay on it for the remainder of your life.
Blimey, that sounds fabulous.
Well, guys, I think we just cured menopause.
Well, you know,
you're welcome. But I think it is
like
expensive. I
anything.
don't know how much is covered by insurance. I'll find out. I'm happy to talk about it on the podcast.
I mean, I'm no kind of, you know, beat the drum. We live in a patriarchy, blah blah blah. But when it comes to this stuff,
yeah,
it's a problem.
Yeah,
it's a problem. Men get a lot of help. Women just get to sit in it and suffer.
Well, I think the first step is us talking about it. Because that's what I'm saying with my girlfriends.
It doesn't seem to make much difference, you know.
I,
Anyway, it's very difficult, and I would like to formally give a shout out to all the husbands who are kind to their wives when they're going through it.
It really makes a difference. It really makes a difference.
Kind and understanding and gentle, because it makes childbirth look easy.
Yes. Childbirth is just one day.
Well, it's a really, really great drug.
I didn't have the drug.
Oh, woman.
Yeah. But again, I mean, I didn't ever do it again. I didn't have another one, but it was one day. And this is an indeterminate length of time. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. I
had no illusions about whether or not I was going to take that med.
I was like,
I want those drugs now.
No, I that's what I told all my girlfriends. I was like, just get the there's no need. There's no need. I mean, it's gonna be natural. But by the way, the moment I had that horrible contraction, like that, I was like, this is it. I'm done. You need to go get the epidural guy. The very next contraction, she dropped and it was time to push. And the pushing was worse than the contractions. You
see, my delivery room was like a cocktail party.
See?
I was high as a kite, laughing my ass off. My husband and my OBGYN were cracking jokes. And
that's how it should be.
It was amazing. It was a very profoundly spiritual experience. It was lovely. It was beautiful. I was high as a kite. Free slip.
I love it. Free slip, exactly. Thank you so much, Serena Scott Thomas, for joining me today to cover solid core, relationships, death and dying, and menopause.
And olive oil.
Oh, always olive oil. I'm thinking olive oil might be good for menopause. Down there. Am I right?
I was going to say I've never really used it awful, but I'm not going
to. Yeah, well, I don't know.
Just probably.
If anybody out there has used Villa Capelli for lube, please tweet us and let us know. I have not, but I probably should. And then I'll let you guys know, because nothing's off limits, apparently. Thank you so much, Serena Scott Thomas.
Oh, you guys know the drill. It was so nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. And thanks for this. Go watch this on YouTube, you guys, because she's got a beautiful room that she's in, and you're going to want to see this.
My orange, my coral.
Oh my God, I'm obsessed with it. I'm obsessed with the draperies. I'm obsessed with that chinoiserie lamp behind you. I'm obsessed with that painting. I love all of it. The orchid. It's guys, go look. It's gorgeous. Watch this on YouTube. Support NSNG Foods. Support purecoffeeclub.com. Support purevitaminclub.com. I'm sure you guys do, but just go. These products that Vinnie makes are incredible. The products that I make are incredible over at Eat Happy Kitchen. Of course, I have Eat Happy and Eat Happy too. And Serena, thank you.
I live on your stuff. Thank you. Those rubs are phenomenal. Every single one of your sauces is delicious.
Thank you.
And you put that and Villa Capelli with just some ground beef.
That's it. You're good.
Bada boom.
You're good. You're golden.
Fabulous.
So thank you. I appreciate that. And I will say, starting a company, a CPG company, and also starting menopause has been an interesting adventure. So just trying to manage the stress and the overwhelm, and maybe stuff that didn't used to stress me out. Really, I go, oh, this is crazy. Why do I feel so crazy?
It's funny because I was starting real estate at that age. And I remember saying to somebody, I'm not supposed to be starting a new business right now. I'm supposed to be walking the dog in the countryside and making jam.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting how you have that impulse. You're like, hold on, why am I launching something new? But I think it's good because here's the deal. We're going to live a lot longer probably than our ancestors did. So why not have some new adventures?
Quality of life.
Quality of life. And you know how you get that? Go to solidcore, bitches. Let's do
and
this.
eat NSNG.
And eat NSNG, bitches. And by bitches, I mean men.
By the way, I want to report
bitches.
After you've been to solidcore, I want to report back.
Okay. Definitely. I'm sure it'll kill me.
Sure. No, you'll love it.
Will love it.
You, and you'll love it.
I like to feel like something's doing something.
Oh,
I've been doing the cold plunges in the pool every morning.
Oh my God, what's wrong with you, woman? That's like the reverse hot flash.
I kind of like it. But here it is miserable. But I did it for the 20 days before I left for Italy, and I was right back this morning. Today, the pool was 60 degrees, but the air temp was 35. It was cold. And I did 5.5 minutes. So I was very proud of myself. I try to do at least 3 minutes.
Where are you doing this?
In the pool out back. And
because you have a pool in your because you moved. I keep thinking you're still there.
Yeah, we moved. We have the pool. So, and our cover broke. So it's a cold pool. It's very cold.
Yeah.
There's no heat contained in there. So, and that's another one that the reason why I got interested is because of autoimmune. It's supposed to help.
Oh, is that right?
It's supposed to release some cold shock proteins in the liver to help your immune system. I'm great. I'm here for it. Whatever.
Well, can't you just like put the taps on cold when you finish taking a shower? Doesn't that do the same?
You definitely can. You absolutely can. I have to figure out what works for me. And if I can put my hair up and not ruin all this hair color that I spend money on, I'd like to do it that way. In the shower.
Go gray, baby. So much
well, that's down the road, but yes, it's coming. It's coming, honey. Oh, it's coming, as you well know. Anyway, thank you so much, Serena Scott Thomas.
Darling, it was a pleasure.
It was such a pleasure.
I hope we haven't let Vinnie down.
I'm sure he'll be fine. This is what he gets. By the way, Vinny's, we never addressed where he is. He is in New Orleans visiting his or in Louisiana visiting his family. So he's not died. He's gone.
Actually, he's
but not forgotten. Serena is taking this opportunity to confess to a crime. Her own midsummer crime.
Somebody call Nancy Grace.
Somebody call Nancy Grace. You know, Nancy Grace couldn't even figure this one out. He's buried somewhere in Midsummer. I don't know.
Midsummer. Causton or whatever it's called. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, my dear. I appreciate it.
All right, darling. Lots of love.
Bye-bye.
Bye, hun.